My name is Pauline Rifkin Landman. Um, and I forgot what else I'm supposed to say.
Your date of birth?
Oh, I was born on May 27th, 1920, which makes me exactly 87 years old, which I can't believe. My father and mother were natives of Russia, but they came here sometime in 1900s, and I was born here, and my sister was born here. My two sisters were born here.
Do you remember the towns that your parents came from?
No, I wish I did.
Did they have family here? Is that the reason they came to Omaha?
Yes, my father had a brother who wanted to see him once more before he died, and so he sent for him. And he took my mother with him, and they both came with the intention of going back. However, every time they were going to go back, my grandfather got pneumonia, and so they didn't go back. And then when finally he was better, they decided to go back, and World War I had broken out. So they never did get to go back. They stayed here in this country, which was lucky for us kids.
Were your parents married when they came here?
No, they didn't even know each other. They met here in the United States, and they got married, and they had us 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. No boy. My father wanted a boy. He wanted one very badly, but he never got one. He had 3 girls, and he told us many times that he would have traded all 3 of us girls for one boy. That didn't make us feel too good. But he really, really wanted a boy. So he named us after boys' names. My older sister is Harriet, and I'm Pauline, and my younger sister is Maxine. So that was like Harry and Paul and Max. That's the closest he ever got.
What kind of work did your father do?
Well, actually he was a peddler to begin with. First of all, he had a horse and a wagon, and he loaded it up with all kinds of goodies and drove out to the small towns in Iowa and did a really good job of it. In fact, all of those people were crazy about him. In fact, they invited him to bring us girls to visit, which we did. We had a really good time. They treated us so beautifully. But they thought he was a swell guy. And he started out with the horse and wagon, and eventually he bought a car. And then he went out pedaling with the car, which of course was easier. But sometimes he would be gone overnight for a couple of days. And he did pretty well with the pedaling. But later on, they had bought a great big house. My mother decided that we didn't really need all that room. So she decided they should make apartments out of the big house and see if they could make some more money, which they did. And she was so remarkable, my mother. I can't imagine how she was so smart. She could figure out every little corner to make something out of it. And she figured out how to make a bathroom here and a living room there, and made some very nice apartments. So they went into that business then because it did so well that my father gave up the peddling and they went into the apartment business. That really went well. In fact, they started to buy old buildings and remodel them. And my mother worked right along with my father. She was like a man. She would climb up the ladders and she would break through all the plaster, and she worked just like a demon and come home worn out, and then she would make supper for all of us and take care of everybody. She was really a wonderful person. I can't stress too much how brilliant she was, that she could figure out every little thing. And it came out into a beautiful apartment. So they had made 13 apartments out of the original old big house. Then they decided that that wasn't enough, and there was a big lot next door to where the house was. They decided they'd make some more apartments on that big lot. So they made a bunch more apartments, and that went so well that they decided they would buy some apartments that were already built and remodel them. And that's what they did then. They did about 3 different old places, just broke them completely apart and made cute little apartments out of them. And it went really well. They made quite a bit of money doing that. Then, when us kids were older, I guess I was married already, and I had my second child. My father and mother got into an argument, a silly argument, and one thing led to another, and they got a divorce. And that was really stupid, because it was so silly. The reason that they got into the argument was my mother forgot, and she left the keys in the lock. My father was very upset about that, and he was a short-tempered man anyway. So he just couldn't get over that. He thought that was the most terrible thing, that she left her keys in the lock. So one thing led to another. As I said, they finally got divorced. And I think there was an occasion when my father really wanted to get together, but my mother didn't recognize the signs. He came over and he said, I came to get a bar of soap. And she says, well, you know where I keep it. Go ahead, help yourself. I gotta go clean an apartment. Well, that was like a slap in the face. I'm sure that he meant for her to try to make amends so they'd get together. She didn't recognize that. My mother was very, very smart, but she was not the soul of tact. And she didn't realize that that was what he had in mind. And now as I look back, I'm sure that's what he wanted to do. Anyway, he was insulted that she had to go clean an apartment and wouldn't stay with him. So that led to more bad feelings and one thing and another. They did finally get divorced. My father remarried. He told us that he didn't need us. He could always have more children, and he didn't need us to be on his side. If we wanted to stick with my mother, that was okay with him, that he could have other kids besides us. Well, of course, he never did. And of course, we stuck with our mother because, for one thing, she was our mother. For another thing, we loved and admired her very much. She was really a wonderful, wonderful lady. And so naturally we were on her side. So they got divorced, and years went by, and my mother finally remarried also to a man named Max Levine, who was a nice man, but he had heart trouble. And one day as he was repairing some plaster in one of her apartments, he had a heart attack and he died. So things went on okay for a while, and then us kids were growing up, and I had married Maury Landman, my wonderful husband, and we had 3 children. The first one was Lawrence, who was unfortunately hearing impaired, and the second one was my brilliant daughter Jacqueline, who was so smart. She aced every test that she got in school, and as she grew older, she taught herself how to use a computer, and she started a computer business of her own in her house, and she had to do that because her one and only child was handicapped, and she had to stay home with him. so she couldn't go out to work. Her son had, well, he was, I forget the word, where they don't remember, they can't, darn, I have trouble with words, remembering. I think I'm getting old. Anyway, she had to stay home with him, and so she started this business in her house, and it went very well. She's so good at it. She's getting business from all over the world. She's written 3 different books of fonts, for which there's a big demand, and people call her from all over to do their work for them. So she married a doctor, by the way. A really, really nice man. His name is Gay. His last name is Gay. And they're very happy together. He understands Jackie very well because she was a little hard to understand. She used to get what she called her black moods, and he understood her very well and could always talk her out of that. They're very happy together. He's a wonderful man. He's a good doctor. He has a great clientele. Everybody asks for Dr. John. And unfortunately, they could never have any other children. My 3rd child is Jennifer. She's a beautiful girl. We named her Jackie. Jackie was the 2nd one. We named her Barbara. But she didn't like that because the kids were jealous of her because she was so popular and she was so beautiful. And they would tease her with Barbie, Barbie doll, Barbie. And she began to hate that name. So she changed it to Jennifer. So she's now Jennifer. Jennifer married 3 times. The first 2 were unsuccessful. She chose the wrong kind of people. The first one was a mama's boy who just wanted her to keep working all her life, and in spite of the fact that she worked him through law school and business school, he wanted her to keep on working. Well, she got tired of that, so she left him. Married the 2nd one that she was really in love with, because I don't think she was in love with the first one. But he was so crazy about her that he kept after her till she married him. And they moved to Austin. She wanted to live in Austin always. I don't know why. She just had an idea that she wanted to live in Austin. And after she married the first one and worked him through school, when he got out, he decided that they would move to Dallas, that he could make a better living there. So they moved to Dallas, but she hated Dallas. And she didn't like living there. She didn't like him. He kept calling her every day to see if she was out looking for a job, in spite of the fact that she'd worked him through school already, and he didn't want any children. So that marriage was not a good marriage at all. Eventually, she just left him. Then she married another man that she had known previously, that she had double dated with him and his wife. And she really was in love with him, but he turned out to be not a very good person. When she found out that he was taking drugs as well as drinking, that was the end of that, so she put a stop to that. And she divorced him. And eventually she married her 3rd husband, who is a nice man. And his name is Marvin Huggins. And Jennifer and Marvin have 2 little boys who are very brilliant little boys. They have gotten hundreds on every test that they ever got. And the teachers are always bragging about them, how wonderful they are, how great, how smart, how helpful to the other children. And we really do love them. They're just wonderful little boys. In fact, Jackie loves her nephews. She calls all the time, and she sends them tickets to come to see her in, where does she live now? She lives in Oh, how come I can't remember anything all of a sudden? Um, anyway, she comes to visit. She sends them tickets to come to visit her from Austin to Minneapolis. That's where she lives, in Minneapolis. And they love to go. They love their Aunt Jackie, and they have a wonderful time with her. And she would love to adopt them, I'm sure, because she's crazy about those boys. Anyway, they're now at the point where they're going to graduate. The older one is Benjamin. No, the older one is Tyler. Tyler is 16 years old, and he will be graduating in another year, going off to college somewhere, I suppose. The younger one is Benjamin, who is just 2 years younger than Tyler is. Both of the boys are are very well thought of. Their teachers are crazy about them. Excuse me. And what more can I say? I'm very proud of them. I'm going to talk about my oldest child, Lawrence, who was born hearing impaired. Because I caught the German measles when I was 9 weeks pregnant, which was the time when the virus was attacking the hearing nerve. And so he was born hearing impaired. He married a nice Jewish girl named Esther, who is also hearing impaired. The unfortunate thing is that Esther was born with a genetic defect that she is also becoming blind. And she's at the point now where she can hardly see anything. However, she's a wonderful girl. She carries right on. She keeps up with everything. She's the one that takes care of everything. She pays all the bills. She makes all the appointments. She sees to everybody's health. I don't know how she does it, but she does. They have 4 children. The oldest one is named David. He's a wonderful boy. David has married a lovely Jewish girl named Judy that I just love. And the second child is consult my notes here. Shalom. Shalom has 4 children. He has 5 children, and I understand he's expecting another one now. They're going to repopulate the entire Jewish population, those 2. But they're great kids. I talked about David, and the next one was Shalom. And then they were surprised to have twins, a boy and a girl, Sammy and Debbie. Sammy is a wonderful boy. He takes care of his parents, and I feel sorry for him because I don't know how he's ever going to have a life of his own, because they really do depend on him. He takes them everywhere they have to go. Of course, Lawrence drives, so he can take them, but he's working, so he can't get away all the time, and they have appointments all the time. Esther's had a lot of problems with her health. She was in an accident and she hurt her shoulder, which needed to be operated on. Then she slipped and fell and hurt her other shoulder and needed surgery on that one. Now I understand she's going to need a hip replacement in several years. But in the meantime, Sammy has been just wonderful. He takes her to all her appointments and to all her, what they do after appointments, what they do, what's the word? Where they learn to use their arms and legs and everything again. He's been just marvelous. He's a wonderful son.
Is he married?
No, he's not married, and I don't see how he's ever going to be. He's so tied down with his parents. He'd love to be married. He told me that he'd love to have a family, and he's very good with children. But how he's ever going to be, I don't know. They depend on him, and I don't know how they get along without him. So that's a real problem, which I hope will take care of itself someday. I don't know how. But Sammy is wonderful. They came over to visit me last May. Sammy and his father, Lawrence, and Esther. All three came to visit. And it was so much easier with him there, with Sammy, because he interprets all the time. He tells me what they're saying. I can understand a little of the sign language, but I'm very slow, and it's very difficult. So it's a real struggle every time I try to understand what they're saying. But when Sammy interprets, it goes so fast and it's so easy. So it was quite a nice visit with him here.
And how about Debbie?
Debbie is normal, and she got married to a nice Jewish boy. They're very much in love, and they have two little boys named I'll tell you in a minute. She's married to Aaron, Aharon. They live in Atlanta, Georgia. They have two little boys. The oldest one is named Shlomo Chaim, and the second one is only about 5 months old. His name is David Shmaryahu. They're darling little boys. But she lives in Atlanta, so Esther and Lawrence are forever traveling to see all their children, because the oldest family lives in, they live in, I'll tell you in a minute.
What kind of work does Lawrence do?
He's a CPA, and he's very busy, and he's very good at it, but very busy around tax time. They live in Baltimore. So Esther and Lawrence are forever traveling between Baltimore and Shalom lives in Lakewood, New Jersey, and Debbie lives, of course, in Atlanta, Georgia. So between the three places, they're forever traveling. I think they spend all their money on tickets. But that's all they care about, is seeing their children. They don't care about anything else.
Let's go back, Pauline, and talk about your father. You said that when he came to here, he was brought to Omaha by a brother.
Yes.
What was his name?
Well, his name was Rifkin, of course, because that was their name, Rifkin. And I don't know what his first name was.
Did he have a family here?
He had a mother, I know, and he had a younger brother that he was crazy about. His name was Ara, and the sun rose and set with Ara. He just loved his younger brother, Ara. So then he had a younger brother who was much younger. I don't remember his name. He was quite a bit younger.
Did they all live here in Omaha?
They all did, yeah, at the time.
Is there any family left on your father's side?
I don't think so. I know his mother was gone a long time ago. Ara died of cancer. And my father, of course, died when he was 85. And the younger one, that I lost track of him. I don't know whatever happened to him. I understand we have some family in Hollywood, that they're into the movies and all that. I wish I knew. That would be interesting.
And how about on your mother's side of the family?
My mother's side of the family, she has a lot of family here. My mother was a Margolin. The Margolin is a large family, and they're very well known. They were quite active here, and they were everybody knew the Margolins. They had a wonderful name, wonderful reputation, and most of them are gone, but there's a couple of them left, I know, younger ones, that I can't think of their names offhand, but I know there's a couple of them left. I ran into them not too long ago when Lawrence was here. We went over to the Jewish restaurant for lunch, and there was a bunch of them there. So I got to see them for a while. And I understand that they meet like every Monday, and a whole bunch of them meets together. So I guess I could go up there and see them if I ever wanted to, which I
Not-
might.
I'd like to hear how you met your husband.
Oh, well, it was an ordinary way, I guess. We met at a party. It was in somebody's house. Everybody was dancing and playing and having a good time. And Maury wanted to dance with me. So of course I danced with him. He was very, very good looking, I must say. He could have been a movie star. He was so handsome. So naturally I was attracted to him, as every other girl was. And he seemed to be attracted to me too. And we kind of got together, but then he had to leave because he was playing an instrument at the time. And he had to go and do something with that instrument. They were playing for some kind of a doing or something. He had to play. And so while he was gone, his friend Bill Poster, who was his best friend, kind of took me over. So when Maury came back and he found out that I was not available anymore, he was really very upset. In fact, we all went out for ice cream, and Maury was so upset. He got out of the car and he was throwing stones, rocks at a telephone post, just to get rid of his anger, I guess. Anyway, that was that for a while, and then Bill Poster started to date me, but I really wasn't attracted to Bill. He was a very nice guy, but he was not for me. One day, I was at the Jewish Community Center, and all three of those boys were there. Bill Poster and Maury, and a friend of theirs, Sammy Adler. And they didn't have anything to do. So I said, well, why don't you go over to my house for a while? Okay, they thought that was a good idea. So they all came over to my house. But instead of doing anything with the rest of them, I was dancing with Maury all the time that they were there. They were just sitting watching. So that was the beginning of our courtship. And Maury called me from then on, but I was really very popular and I didn't have too much time. But I saw him whenever I could. And I have a little book that shows the dates I had at the time, and there was somebody in the morning, somebody at noon, somebody in the evening. But more and more he kept saying Maury all the time. And finally, the last page of that little book says, I guess it's going to be Maury. So we became engaged, and we set a wedding date. And that's what happened. At the time, Maury was he was working for Western Union, and he used to bring telegrams to people going through. So he got to meet all kinds of actors and actresses, and they all gave him autographs, which I turned over to Jackie now. She thinks it's going to be worth something someday, all those old actors' autographs. Anyway, one of them was kind of a decorator in Hollywood, and he said to Maury that he could find him a place in Hollywood if he would come out there. And he gave Maury his name and his address and all that sort of thing. Well, Maury's mother was a little bit skeptical, but she looked him up, and sure enough, he was. He was a decorator for the people in Hollywood. But it was at the time when we were engaged. We were about to get married, so he wasn't going to do anything about that. So one time after we were already married, Maury happened to be in California with the company that he was working for at the time. He looked this man up, and sure enough, he was a decorator. But it turned out that he actually had a house that he kept young, good-looking young men with him in that house. So we think that he had an ulterior motive. So it's just as well that Maury didn't pursue that.
What kind of work was Maury doing when you got married? Was he with the Western Union then?
He worked for Western Union. He was making $12 a week. And they took 12 cents out for Social Security. So we lived on $11.88. But my mother and father gave us one of their apartments to live in. So we got along just fine. And our big day was eating out once a week on a Sunday. And we found a place where you could have a steak dinner for two for $1. And it was really good. That was the big day. Then we heard that my college roommate wrote to me and she said, "Why don't you and Maury come out to Wichita, Kansas? They're building airplanes out there. You could make a lot of money." She said, "Well, we can find you a place to live and we can help you." And so we thought about that and it sounded like a pretty good idea. Better than $12 a week. So my father loaned us the money for Maury to take a course, what he had to know about fixing airplanes. And we went out to Wichita, Kansas. And sure enough, he got a job right away. And he got paid $50 a week. I couldn't believe it. That was almost $100, a month. I couldn't believe it. Such riches. So we were really happy about that. Anyway, Maury grew a mustache because it wasn't long before they had him teaching the rest of them what they were supposed to do, because Maury was very smart. And he looked so young that he looked younger than the people that he was training. So he grew a mustache. And he had the mustache all the rest of his life until lately at the nursing home. He cut it off. And I miss it. But he was still good looking with or without it. But he worked there until he was drafted for World War II. And at that time we already had our oldest son Lawrence, who was just a baby. So we decided to come back to Omaha while he was in the Army. So that's what we did, and that was a trip to Omaha that I'll never forget. You couldn't get any tires at that time. Everything was, short. Our tires were very worn out, and we started out in the morning. Next thing we knew, bang, a tire blew. Maury had that car. It was so funny. I wish we had a picture of it. He had it like the Okies, Remember what the Okies were? Everything was tied on, extra tires everywhere, including everything else we had to have. Well, we didn't go very far because another bang and another tire was blown out. Well, we finally ambled our way to the next little town, and we didn't know what to do, and I was upset because Lawrence had just had a shot that morning. He was running a fever, and I was worried about him. So we went into the, what was CPA, or what do you call that, where they gave you what you needed. Anyway, I took the little boy and my baby, and I said, "My baby is very sick." I said, "And we're trying to get back home, and we need a tire." So they gave us the okay to buy a tire. We got a brand new tire. That was unheard of. Anyway, we went on our way back to Omaha. We had started out like early in the morning, and it was already getting like dinner time. the baby was crying, and we were hungry and tired, and the tires were still, still, uh, um, not, not running good. The new tire was fine, but we had all these other tires, you know, that were old, and they were all blowing out. So we stopped at one of the towns, tired and hungry and everything, and they had a big mound of old used tires there. We stopped there. We thought maybe we could get another one that was better than what we had. So there was a very nice man there. He says to Maury, he says, you take your wife and baby, go get something to eat. He says, I'll find you a tire that's not too bad, and then you could be on your way. He was sure a nice old man. And that's what we did. And he did find us a tire that wasn't too bad. It's nothing we would buy now, but it helped us get back to Omaha. We finally lived in Omaha about 2 o'clock in the morning, tired, exhausted, with a crying baby. And we finally got in to my parents' house. They were very glad to see us because we had been on the road a long, long time.
Let's hear about your school days, elementary school.
Oh, my school days. Well, at first it wasn't so good because we lived in an Italian neighborhood. And they called us Christ killers, and we were dirty Jews and all that sort of thing. And my sister Harriet was defending me all the time. They were throwing rocks at us and everything. We had a terrible time. And she would beat up those boys who kept irritating us. And finally, one time, my mother got sick and tired of it, and she went to the mother of the boy who was the worst of the lot, and she said, your son is really making it hard for my children. She says that if you don't stop him from doing that, she says, I'm going to put a curse on your children, and you're going to be sorry. Well, she didn't believe him, you know, so it went on the way it was, and then, sure enough, the boy, whose name was Louis, got a sickness and he died. Well, it wasn't long after that his brother got sick also. Well, his mother got panicky then. She came running to my mother begging and pleading, please, please take the curse off. She says, you're killing my children. So my mother says, all right. She says, I forgive you and I'll take the curse off and you're going to be all right. And that's what happened. They were okay after that. Nobody bothered us anymore. But that's what I remember of my school days when I was young.
What school were you going to?
Went to Park School. Park School was near a park. It was a good school, and I got along there very well. And I did pretty good with my grades and so forth. And when I graduated, Harriet had already graduated, my older sister. And she went to Central High. So I went to Central High for 1 year, but I didn't like it there. I felt that it was very snooty. That the kids there were in cliques, and I felt that I didn't belong there. So I decided I was going to switch to Tech High. So Harriet switched with me, because she loved me dearly, and whatever I did was all right with her. And that's still the same way today. So we both switched over to Tech High. We had a wonderful time there. Everybody was friendly and nice, and the classes were good. And I took elocution, and I was in a contest for the state of Nebraska, and I won second place in the elocution contest. With the cutest recitation. I wish I remembered it. It was at the Tasty Hasty coffee shop, where the old man comes in and he says he wants some pie, and she says, what kind of pie do you want? And he says, I want pumpkin pie. And he tastes the pie. He says, this isn't pumpkin pie. She says, honey, all the pies are pumpkin here. And that was one of the jokes that went all the way through. It was just really cute. And I won second place in the state of Nebraska on that, which was fun. In fact, some of the teachers there used to hire me to come and entertain for their groups. They paid me $1 to give my recitation. It was kind of fun. Then when we graduated from Tech High, Harriet and I both graduated with honors. And that's the only time I ever remembered my father kissing me, is when I graduated with honors from Tech High. That was a real thrill, because he was not one who showed his feelings or anything. But he was so proud of both of us. We each got a big kiss from him, which is a one-time occasion.
Did you go on to the university then?
I did. I went to the University of Lincoln for 1 year. I had a wonderful time there. But my father decided that it was silly to spend money for education for girls, because he says, you can diaper a baby just as well without a college education. So he wanted me to quit. Well, I didn't want to quit. So my mother talked him into 1 more year, but I had to switch over to Omaha U instead of Nebraska. So I went for 1 more year at Omaha. And I did real well there. Got good grades and so forth. And then when I quit there, that was when I married Maury and got married. That was the end of my education.
What are your memories of the wedding?
Oh, the wedding. The wedding was something I wish I could forget. Because the rabbi had to go to a funeral. So he was late, and everybody waited, and got bored and anxious, and finally the rabbi arrived, and he did the ceremony, and we finally got the wedding over with, all the paper signing and all that sort of thing. And then we went to my parents' house, where we had some refreshments, and they did all the long prayers and everything there. Then when all that was over, Maury and I left for a honeymoon. We spent 1 week in Chicago. That was our honeymoon. My mother's relatives lived in Chicago, so they were happy to have us. And I remember I wrote down every penny we spent, and I still have that book. 20 cents for breakfast, 50 cents for lunch. It's really funny. But things were very cheap then. But we had a wonderful time. It was a great honeymoon. And we got together with my aunts and my uncles and my cousins, and had a great time on our honeymoon. When we came back, then Maury had to look for... See, I think when we came back, that was when he had to go to the service. But we already had the baby then. We had Lawrence. So, one funny thing, Maury and I actually had 2 weddings. The first wedding was his parents' idea. They wanted us to get married so that he wouldn't get drafted into the Army. And so they wrote a letter that it was okay for us to get married, because we were young, you know. I was only... I think I wasn't even 20 yet. Maury was barely 20. And so his parents wrote a letter to the judge. I'm sure they thought I was pregnant, which I was not. And my mother wrote a letter that it was okay for me to get married. So we went to Papillion, Nebraska at night and looked up a judge who married us right then and there. And his wife was the witness. So that was kind of funny. My mother kept saying, now remember, you're not married, you're not really married till the real marriage in October. The Jewish wedding was set for October 27th. I'd like to close by telling my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and the wives and husbands of my children that I love them all very dearly, and I'm so happy to have them all.